The previous videos covering the system requirements for ARC Raiders helped us draw a clearer picture of the minimum specs GPU for this title. This time around, let's focus on the CPU requirements for this game. You see, the official Steam Store page lists for Intel the non-hyper-threaded quad-core i5-6600K. The AMD equivalent apparently would be the hyper-threaded 6-core Ryzen 5 1600. A bit weird, and it only signals that maybe this is just what the devs happen to have at hand when testing. In this installment, we'll be focusing on AMD CPUs. The 6-core hyper-threaded Ryzen 5 5600, using the Zen 3 architecture and the highest boost frequency out of the selected CPUs, this one is supposed to come out on top. The Ryzen 5 3600, also a 6-core 12-thread CPU. A lot of the time performing at about 90% of the performance of the 5600, this Zen 2 chip typically costs half of the Zen 3 part. The Ryzen 5 2600, again 6-core 12 threads but on the Zen Plus architecture. If anything, this is a slightly higher clocked 1600 AF. Now, all of these CPUs share the same number of cores and threads, so we will be definitely missing out if we were to test just these 3 chips. So, here come the APUs as well. The Ryzen 3 3200G, a 4-cores 4-threads chip on the same Zen Plus architecture as the 2600. This one should give us an idea on how an older Core i5 would run. The Ryzen 5 2400G, this one is a 4-cores 8-threads chip, also on the Zen Plus architecture. Having SMT should help, and this chip will tell us by how much. And the Ryzen 5 4600G. I included the Zen 2 APU because I love APUs in desktop and I wanted to highlight it against the Ryzen 5 3600. And now that we're done being petty, a word about the game settings. I went for low settings, 1280x720 resolution and 50% render scale. This was done to minimize the time spent on the GPU side of things, making the FPS result dependent mostly on the CPU. And this makes more sense if you have a closer look at the test system used. The fastest GPU that I have available is the RX 580, which is, funny enough, the minimum required specs card for this game. I also use 32GB of DDR4, but at 3000 MHz. I would rank a CPU as adequate if it manages 1% loss above 30 FPS. And of course, the higher the average FPS, the better. So, how did our CPUs do in game? Both quad-core entries managed average FPSs above 60, with the value for the 2400G being in the mid-70s, while the 3200G managing about 10 FPS less. This is definitely the good news. The bad news is that only the 2400G manages the 1% loss above 30 FPS, low 40s to be more accurate. The 3200G got that same metric in the high 20s, making the game experience a bit more difficult to stomach. I did not have any major problems with it, but I can see others willing to implement a 30 FPS cap for a smoother frame delivery. One thing to be noted here, the 2400G's SMT, that is AMD's hyper-threading equivalent, seems to help a lot with the 1% lows. We'll see if things stay the same with the Intel CPUs in a follow-up video. The 6-core 12-threads Ryzen 5 2600 did quite well, with the average FPS in the high 80s and the 1% loss above 50 FPS. The 2 extra cores, larger cache and having hyper-threading definitely paid off when comparing its results to the previously mentioned APUs. Despite both the Ryzen 5 3600 and 4600G having the same Zen 2 architecture, the game experience is going to be somewhat different. While both of them run an average FPS above 90, with the 3600 doing a bit better, the game will feel a bit smoother on the 3600 thanks to its 1% loss in the mid-60s. The 4600G is not bad at 49 FPS for the same metric, and the game is definitely playable, but the 3600 will run a bit better. This is, to a large extent, due to the compromises that the 4600G has to make to accommodate the iGPU. To me, it looks like the reduction in cache size is the main culprit, with the APU having a quarter of the L3 cache that the 3600 has. The Ryzen 5 5600 is, as expected, the uncontested leader, with 117 FPS for the average and the 1% loss in the 70s. If only its price would match its performance, especially when compared to the much cheaper 3600. I guess the main takeaway here is that there is a bit of hope when it comes to quad-core CPUs. If that's what you have, then a 30 FPS cap will keep the game experience smooth enough. And I also have another confirmation that the Ryzen 5 3600 is in a sweet spot when it comes to price to performance. On the Intel side, the game developers have the 6th Gen Core i5 as minimum spec CPU. We'll take a closer look at that claim in a future video. Stay tuned if you're interested in that. As for this one, we're done. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed it,